That was not pretty. Although my opening seems to be slightly different than it was just about an hour ago. But that's the role I play. Florida State Seminoles live right here at the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you stopping by. Leave those comments and questions there in the chat. Looks like we've got a new analyst here on the Florida State show. Cam Underwood, State of the U, stopping by. Of course, George from the Renegade Report. We are waiting for James Coleman to stop by as well. All right, George, it's your show, so you can lead us off.
Okay. Well, I'll give, kind of the soliloquy I just did there in the studio. Cam, I was the one, I wasn't trying to call you out too hard, but I did make sure to confirm that we were going to have this show this week. You were going to come by either way, and we would be here as well. And here we are. I said 37-34. If FSU was going to win it, they had to score 30, and they did not score 30. 8 drives in a row without a score wasn't going to get it done against this Miami team. Our front seven wasn't going to be able to dominate the game and just, completely railroad that thing. We had to load the box. We were going to give up, some tough passes downfield. That was just going to be part of it. You're going to have to give up some big plays to stop that Miami run. They did it. They stopped the run. I mean, not completely, but I think it was like 70 yards towards the end of the game. They did a good job at that, but Malachi Toney broke it off in our butt a couple times. Like I said earlier, Edwin Joseph, tough assignment for the young man. Big fan of the kid, but with Barker out, it hurt a little bit. And the guy CJ Daniels, I said, wasn't a blow by him and win routes by 3-4 yards, and he isn't. But he got us. He ran a nasty route on him.
He must have it in him because he did it repeatedly. So, you know what I mean? And the thing that got me coming back, and appreciate you having me, and letting me, join you for a couple minutes here. I didn't think that there was any way in hell y'all were scoring 37. It wasn't about the fact of you would need a high scoring game, but against the defense that Miami has shown on the field, I just thought that would to actually predict that? No way. No. That wasn't.
The plays were there to be made. Even your coordinator said as much. The plays were there to be made. Guys were wide open. I know the pressure. Somebody put a stat up. Y'all pressured us 42 times. I don't know if that was all after Pettis went down or mostly after Pettis went down. But look at the first 13, 14 pass plays, and Tommy's got a clear pocket. If he was under pressure, it was him doing it to himself. And guys are streaking 2-3 receivers wide open. Unfortunately, he kept throwing into double coverage. But the plays were there to be made. Just for shits and giggles, say he scores 2 times instead of turning the ball over in the red zone. I mean, all of a sudden, obviously you're correct. We didn't get it. We weren't favored to score that much, but if Tommy would have played a little better, they would have had a shot. I mean, they ended up scoring 22 coming back in garbage time there at the end. But, also a couple more touchdowns wouldn't have been too crazy if you wiped 3 turnovers off the board.
Yeah, but we can't wipe turnovers off the board because we created those turnovers. And Tommy was running and doing all kinds of crazy stuff because we had him running and doing crazy stuff. And James, thanks for stopping by in your your green to balance out my Miami Hurricanes orange, brother. Let's go, baby.
That's Mandarin U, baby.
Mandarin University.
Orange and green. Orange and green. Yeah, let's get it. Let's get it. And y'all were looking for me. It said show up next week on Tuesday, and I was waiting for y'all. And I waited extra day.
What you're acting like right now.
And I'm here right now. Because you called
Cam, you're acting like the specially able guy that came up my tailgate, saying that he was. No, what I'm saying is nobody was looking for you. Oh, nobody was looking for you. What was said was it was an actual friendly thing where I was there. What George said. George was like, "Hey, regardless of what happens." Let's all make sure we're both back on here. And I do appreciate you coming back to be able to get your proper cheer, because Miami did a great job with what was necessary, what needed to happen. And to be honest with you, there were some things that happened that I wasn't sure would happen. But it was great. Like if you would have told me that Carson Beck that Miami would have thrown for 250, it didn't get 100 yards rushing, I would have called you crazy at that moment. And heck, I'm glad you're here because you didn't believe that would happen. You would push,
needed
you
to
would
happen.
lean.
That was the thing that was missing.
You would lean and you would push. It would because you would win the trenches, which you did. I still believe you won the trenches, but I'm just saying, even the bravado, and I love it, of what Miami won a game in a manner in which even Miami didn't believe that they would win it in that manner, which is something that instead of like, again, to me, I know it's been wild, but right now, yeah, you being good like this. You
I was waiting for you to finish that sentence because you said it's been a while, and I wanted to see what was coming after that.
You got to let somebody finish before. I know you're excited.
I didn't say
you
anything.
Haven't been in this position in 20 years.
I had my mouth closed.
I'm just saying. All I'm saying is that instead of even enjoying the fact that you actually are probably the best team in the nation, the only thing that you guys are worried about right now. There's no. I mean, Ohio State arguably better. But your resume, Notre Dame, Florida State, South Florida, the teams you've beat up to this point are more impressive than anybody else's resume. So, like, I'm not going to do what you guys, not you per se, what people have done in previous years and poo-poo on somebody who beat me. I'm going to give props to what it was. That was a well-balanced, well-oiled team that took advantage of a lot of things of a team that came in and honestly looked ill-prepared for what they did, and they looked like they were trying to do some stuff that wasn't really even necessary. It was to me, it was crazy. When I look at the first drive, what Florida State was able to accomplish on that first drive, and then what they did in the fourth quarter, you attacked, but then you are left from attacking to doing this side-to-side stuff, which doesn't work on a team that's fast, which Miami is extremely fast. You hit in waves and you hit in certain spots, but that wasn't what Florida State did. And again, kudos to Miami's DC, and kudos to them doing enough. The only thing that shocked me is Mario did have an opportunity with the 21-3, and this is why I will call BS on calling off the dogs. I haven't known that to be Mario, and Mario didn't do that against Florida. When Mario is up and he knows he can run it up, he will score as much as he wants. So when I heard George say garbage time, I call BS on that because Miami wasn't done. If Miami could have beat us 45-3, you know what what he would have done? He would have been well within his right, and that's what actually makes me like Mario a little bit. It's because I know he wants to do the bully ball stuff. Yeah. But all in all, it reminded me a lot of the 2023 game in Doak. The game, even though we came out we won. The score looks closer. Florida State was never in doubt in that game. This game right here, if you just look at it, man, Miami never, after that 4th and 8, going for it on 4th and 8, Miami never had a situation where the game was close or in doubt. Like when we went for it and you got the pick. So like after that, which even watching the film on that, the decision was disgusting. The execution was disgusting.
It was lovely.
Like
it was beautiful.
For you guys, it was great, but it was just, it was not a great, nothing was great about that for Florida State.
Yeah. I mean, look, he saw it late and threw it. And sorry. He saw it late and threw it, and then Bryce Fitzgerald playing center field went to go make it happen and everything. But there were points that were left on the field. It
wasn't the right throw. You had Gavin Sawchuk right in the middle at the sticks. You had 3 other guys open, but that's the downside of having a young man at quarterback who can't throw in the pocket that you have to move.
And he's not the greatest at reading the defense. And it was fake open. Like when he looked and saw it, it looked like it was open because Bryce Fitzgerald did come from the other hash mark to go get that. But like you and I, we all know that was fool's gold. It wasn't really open, and everything. But like whereas there were people who were open, on that play and some other plays. But I mean, hey, we did what we had to do to get him out of rhythm. And he's throwing grounders, he's throwing balls outside. Missing things, and that's just Thomas Castellanos. That is, he was, his accuracy was all over the place. Is my point. But credit to the defense, credit to what we did, and you have to. I always say it to a friend of mine on the phone: you as a team or in life, people have to make choices. And for Miami, we made some choices and said, okay, we're going to let this be open because we don't think he's going to see it and we don't think he's going to get the ball there. And then we're going to do these other things. So like, there's a measure of there were plays to be made, but also it's like we intentionally leave that open. You know what I mean? So like there was some of that.
Even your DC hinted that there were plays to be made. So like that's what
but that's what I'm saying. There was choices. We made the choice to leave certain things open. Yeah.
I'm saying you're not wrong. It's just what I want people to like. Again, we can talk ball for real, and there was enough ball that y'all guys just did well that you don't even need. You don't even need to do that. You can just say, look, here's what happened.
Yeah.
Because even with the turnovers, excuse me. Cromwell's was bad. That was a bad fumble, but somebody had to punch it out. Mm-hmm. Somebody had to catch the interception on 4th and 8, and he had to return it. Somebody has to make those plays regardless of what it is. So I like the way that you painted it with choices. It was a great whooping of the game. And again, if you and I know a lot of people can't understand or fathom, because if they had as much vitriol and energy as they do on social media, they probably could have played for their favorite team. Whereas I got offered by your favorite team and played for another one. And in the rivalry, and that's what makes it such a great rivalry. I mean, I wish you would have came, Cam, because again, I know you guys like to call the trailer Hassie, but Adrian James seemed to have a great time. And so did Clinton Portis.
Great.
I mean, Willis
good for
McGahee. I'm just saying, a lot of guys come and hang out. It's a great time. It was a great rivalry. It was a great game. Not for us, but at least for you guys. Like you and again, it was never in question.
Yeah.
So it was again, and what I will say for those who don't know, it was bittersweet because the guy who won the game for Miami is my guy, and I got to see him next Friday. I'll be down there again, enjoying Carson Beck, loving up on Carson, and Carson had a 4-touchdown performance. I believe he was 21 for 28 or 20 for 28 or something like that. And it was like I said, he made the plays that were there to be made. That the flea flicker was a great wrinkle there. I liked it. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe we're going to get bombed by that. And I even said this again. This is how I know people just come to troll and don't listen. Who did I tell you I was afraid of at Miami? Do you remember the wide receiver? I said Malley. I said that's the guy who we got to guard. And so I'm sitting there like, might want to guard that guy. Might want to guard that guy.
And what did I say back? I said between Malachi Toney and Mekhi Danzy, those are 2 freshmen on each team who have the kind of athleticism where they could write their name in the history books of like with other guys such as Peter Warrick and Santana Moss. And then we had the conversation about, no, I'm not saying that they're them, but they have that kind of game-breaking ability. Did I not say that last week?
You did. And Malley did exactly what he needed to do. I believe it was number 7. Forgive me. I think that was the other guy who had 2. So, like, even going back into I don't even have to do because I talked about this. So I could just I can spit the box score to you, like, from this. This is Carson. Like, when you look at what Florida State didn't do offensively, and you look at what Miami did, I'd say Mark Fletcher's a pretty good part. He didn't have the rushing game that you want, but he's a pretty big part of your offense.
Yep.
I'd say 7 was good. 10 is good. I'm not poo-pooing on anybody else. I'm saying when you get into big games, there are 3 people that you got to be able to circle and say, we have got to get the ball to these 3 people. And my statement with that, you go look at your box score, you're going to see a lot. You're going to see that those 3 people are who they incorporated other people, but they got that ball into the hands of the guys that they knew could beat Florida State. When you look at Florida State, I can't tell you who we were trying to get the ball to. I know we weren't trying to get it to Squirrel White, who was open numerous times. And then when they finally did throw it to him, he dropped the money. But I know they didn't try to get it to him. They did try to get it to Deuce, but reliable on the sidelines, but not separating from anybody. Again, it was hard to say this, but it was, I really, with your offensive court, they played complementary football as well. Your offensive coordinator and your defensive coordinator did a great job of feeding off of each other. And what I'll say is probably a hallmark of this team, and what makes this team a little bit more dangerous than even last year's team, is that when and this is why I say when Mario, and he did it against Florida, when Mario knows he can score to make the game, open a game up a little bit more, he's going to force the issue.
Yeah.
When he doesn't feel like it, he's not going to give another team a chance to inadvertently come back into the game through arrogance. And I would say that's scary to me because that means he's grown. That means he's growing as a coach. And I don't know if I like that. I ain't gonna hold you. I don't know if I like that, man.
I love that. I know I've talked a lot, and I know I talked over you earlier, George. I want to bring you in, man. I know this is your show and everything, so please, add in. I want to get your thoughts before I get out of here. I'm only going to stay about another couple minutes and let you guys have the rest of your hour to cry and pat each other's back, whatever you want to do. But go ahead.
No tears, man. But no, just at that point when James kind of called me out about the garbage time. And I appreciate that because it is true. It wasn't garbage time. It was kind of never in doubt, but you get one of those onside kicks, all of a sudden that's a really different conversation. And the time of possession battle, the yards, all that stuff was even throughout. So Miami's defense was tired. There were starters in there, for most of that comeback. It's not like we were doing it against nothing and they just fell back in prevent. But yeah, tough loss, man. I think you guys covered it pretty well. There's nothing that pops out. I will say I owe Mike Norvell an apology. The TV crew, it's so hard when you're watching on TV instead of being at the game because you can't look at the play clock. On y'all 2nd and 12, or after first down, it's 2nd and 12. They immediately put a 25-second play clock up there, before Mike even called the timeout. So I'm sitting here like there's 2:33 left, 25 on the play clock. Why the hell would you call a timeout? They got to snap it one time before the 2-minute, no matter what happens. But I guess that was just a mistake. It should have been 40 seconds when you look at the rules, unless there's a timeout or a penalty or something.
There was a player injury.
So there was a player injury. Okay, so screw you, Mike. What the hell are you doing? I mean, that pretty much made it garbage time at that point. You would have it would have been 3rd and 12 with the timeout in your pocket coming out of the 2-minute warning. We'd have had 1 minute and 57 seconds instead of what it ended up being, barely a minute. So yeah, that was a pretty big mistake by Mike right there when you're trying to come back.
Yeah, and I mean, I see people in the chat, talk about, look, y'all missed the plays. We missed the play. I mean, look, Malley had a 52-yarder that came off the board because Keelan Marion going forward. I mean, and it wasn't even one step. It was like one step forward and then like a hop, like, oh, dang it. He was definitely trying to play it off like he didn't do it and really made himself stick out like a sore thumb. But like, yeah, man, it was I thought it was a really dominant performance. I definitely hated the fourth quarter. We tried to hit something, we went for some passes and missed them, and then that stops the clock, and then like everything is 4-down territory at that point for y'all, and it's just like, okay, cool, like it's the 3rd and 8, we get a stop. Nah, you're still on the field. So I mean, like, credit to Florida State for continuing to play and everything, and finding enough plays. I mean, that it took 19 plays, but like when you needed one on 4th down, all 3 times you found one. So like credit to that. Like I'm not gonna sit here and take that away or anything, but I thought this was really, really a decisive margin, or decisive game. Couple tuds left on the field for us for sure. Ruben Bain getting tackled by 2 dudes in the end zone for holding for a safety, not called, makes it 30-11. We get the ball back, and that's not on y'all. Let me make that clear. It's not on you guys that the refs, wanted to call it one way. That's how I see it, about that, but whatever. But yeah, it makes me feel good to get this win, obviously, to go up into Doak where we have a winning record and extend that winning record against y'all and extend our winning record in this rivalry as well, James.
Fair enough.
However, this is something where we're hopefully able to Well says be humble. He said it, not me. He said it, not me.
I get it.
I will say we do have the ability to learn a lesson without the impact of losing a game. And so I really wish that we were back on the field this week. I really detest the ACC for giving us bye weeks sandwiching this game. The one before y'all, cool. Right after, so now we got to run the last 7 weeks, 2 months basically in a row with no break. Fine. I really wish that we were on the field again against somebody this week to be able to say, hey, these were the issues. These were the errors. These are the things that need to get fixed. Let's hit Green Tree hard. Let's put it in the game plan. And then let's get on the field on Saturday and show and prove the work and development, as opposed to having another working week and then going next Friday to put that on the road. I really wish that we were playing somebody this week, but that's the only real thing.
Yeah, I think that would have been. I think they did you guys a disservice with that. But I also say they did you guys again. I believe your body of work to this point makes you the best team.
Okay.
They did you a disservice with the back half of that schedule, the back part of that schedule, but you should win. And that should get you the opportunity to be able to play in the ACC championship. And then when I'm looking at who you'll meet there, more than likely, there's nobody that I think from a talent perspective that you guys can't beat. Now, once we get to the college football playoff, only God knows what could happen with that. But this is a good, this is one of those years where Miami, I can't foresee there being a slip. And again, when you can win like that, that's again, like the running game is what one would have thought would have been the main proponent, but that's not how you won that game.
Yeah.
You won the game through the passing game. And doing very, very well with it. I mean, so now somebody can't just come in and say, oh, well, we'll just load the box and not cover. They have to play the entire team. And when you put that kind of film out there into the atmosphere, it makes you a more difficult team to game plan for, especially when you know guys don't really have the bullets that you guys have. So,
like you said, with the complementary football, that's like the difference in this team. It's like last year, Cam Ward was amazing, this and that, and the defense struggled. It seems like they've really got that thing tuned in, and they're not in positions where, it's like just a little different. Reminds you of some FSU teams back in the day, the way Jimbo liked to do it, obviously different, but you're going to run the ball. Somebody stops it. You're going to make them pay deep. Your defense plays complementary football. You get a turnover. They go score right then. Not going to make big mistakes. Not going to go 7-8 drives without scoring. And those are killers. So props to Miami. I agree with James. I'd say y'all are the number one team. Not really close. Like I test Ohio State's up there with y'all, but as far as what you got on your resume, there's no doubt. It will, like to James's point about the back half of the schedule. You got most of your toughest obstacles out of the way first, but it still is tough playing all those weeks in a row. But y'all should be fine. The defense.
Look, you gotta put it on the field. We've seen Miami teams do less with more so many times over the last quarter century. We can all point to different games and times and entire seasons. The only thing I did want to say that is it's praise for FSU, but also raises a question is last year everybody knew that we had Cam Ward in the bomb squad. So y'all said, hey, we're going too high shell. Safeties, heels are going to be at 15. Y'all going to have to run the ball and dink and dunk us to go win. We did. This year, said, hey, we're beating everybody up at the line of scrimmage. Said, and exactly like I said last week, said we're going to allocate numbers forward and make y'all, and we're going to have to just cover. And if you hit the plays, and win. So I'm saying that to say that in each of the last 2 years, combating what Miami has done best, you guys have done a good job of identifying that, scheming for it, and performing to limit the better part of Miami's offense going into this game. Where I have then a question is, if every coach wants to have the moral victory speech of they did what we knew, Mike Norvell after the game, we figured we would see a flea flicker at some point. Tony Elliott, or I keep doing that. Tony, what's his name? Gibson. Oh, we knew exactly what
everybody's taking that wrong. I think he was saying pretty much we had a guy there and a man, and safety was supposed to be over top. You know what? Tony White can't go out there and play it. I don't think he was like, I got Shannon Dawson's number or nothing. I mean, the guys were there. They didn't make the plays like we went over and over again. I think people have taken that the wrong way, and Tony White's getting a little too much flack. I mean, it's funny to make fun of it, but that's what he meant.
Okay, then maybe that's different. Expands my viewpoint. But my point of that was, if everybody keeps saying they knew what was going to happen, why didn't?
Well, I think
why weren't people able to execute then? You know what I mean? Because like, if you're talking about the safety not being there and you knew that was going to happen, why was that not a thing? So like,
I think that's a cliche thing. And I think people say that, and I think it's easy to take it out of context, like George was saying. It's fans at home that when you guys lost say, oh, everybody knows we're going to run this play. Like when people, like, it's not necessarily that we know. It's like the actually, but I think to your point, it's stronger. So what? Everybody, you know it's happening, but can you stop it? Hell, it's been time. So when I played, I used to joke again numerous times against Miami. 3rd and 1, everybody knew who was getting the ball from 2002 to 2005. There was no secret. We didn't hide it. In fact, a lot of times I raised my hands up in the air to let you know I was getting it.
Right.
But could you stop it is a better question.
Right.
And again, it goes to what Shannon Dawsey did with knowing. I make sure I said it right. I said it right. I don't want to disrespect. Dawsey did with knowing his personnel and getting it to Tony. Knowing and Carson also having a really good, and I think this is what doesn't get spoken about enough, which is why I did say this too, even though I thought it would have been a little bit better on TC's part, that I believe that the person who will win the Heisman Trophy would come out of this game. And the reason why I believed if Carson did it, Carson was going to be able to show his football IQ that I know about. And what Carson did was he dialed it up. He stayed in the pocket. He extended plays. He found the opening and he hit it and he executed it over and over again. And to be honest with you, man, I can't, like, all you can do is sometimes I'm sitting there looking at it and I'm like, damn, that was just good. I just can't. Good quarterback play. You don't recognize good quarterback play until you like see it, because they're in today's game. And I like Haynes King, right? I'm a Haynes King fan. Okay. I don't have delusions. I don't want the team I cover in the Jags to ever draft a Haynes King.
Right.
Like, that's not a guy I want. But a guy who plays the quarterback position more like an NFL quarterback right now would be Carson Beck. Carson Beck is going to highly accurate between 5 to 10 yards, and he's going to take the 5 to 6 deep shots, and he's going to be pretty accurate with those. He knows when to take those. And again, that's when I was just sitting there like, dadgummit. Like, Carson's doing what I saw him do in high school, and what Bobo Wilson would not allow him to do at Georgia. And your offensive coordinator again is done a phenomenal job of helping Carson accentuate the positives in this play.
Didn't Bobo Wilson play for y'all?
No, we had my bad.
You're talking Mike Bobo.
I'm talking about Mike Bobo.
Oh,
my bad. Mike Bobo. I apologize.
Wait, hold on.
He's a Bobo. He's a
Got
Bobo
you.
either way.
Got
Both
you,
of them were
Bobos.
Okay. But
cool.
Yeah, my bad. Appreciate that. Appreciate that, Mark. I got to get us the right Bobo.
All right. Well, hey, man, it's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. Another year of the good guys being on top. I appreciate y'all, boys. Enjoy the rest of your show. And yeah. Oh, people, I guess we have a lot of Miami people in the chat. With the glasses in the green, balancing out my orange. That is James. Big game James Coleman.
You know me, 2005, I scored on you and I won the game. So how about that?
Look in the chat. They're asking them what's the name of the guy with the glasses.
I was just helping them. I was helping them because Google is free. And in the information age, being dumb is a choice. So I wanted to make sure I gave them as much of the stuff, because here's the reality. As I said, you may pretend to not know me, but your legends don't. Your legends know exactly who the guy with the glasses is. That's why they hang out with me.
You got some new viewers coming over from the Miami channel. They just wanted the intro.
I want y'all to be as...
to them.
Again, this is how I know reading, their comprehension skills are off. As great and prestigious as the university that you graduated from, they would never get to it. I have at no point been non-congratulatory. I have at no point. I'm just saying from you, Cam.
You're right.
I've been pretty. And it comes down to people don't have anybody to play with because we appreciate you on YouTube. If you need some more friends, come on over to Big Games BS on Den Media Group. We can find you people to hang out with. You don't have to just yell and scream loud noises in the comments. I'm actually, like I've said again, I know your quarterback very well. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of those guys. I'll be there to see him again. It was a great overall win.
Thanks for letting me know so that I can contact security before you get to the stadium.
Listen, man, I don't want no smoke. I was in that box last time. I don't want those guys coming to get. I'm coming to enjoy.
I know.
I want Carson to win. But by Carson winning, I have to. That means somebody else has to win. If Carson could win and they could lose, I would be ecstatic. But I don't think it works that way.
Well, it definitely didn't work that way last week. But like I said, man, it's been fun. George, appreciate you. Mark, James. So if you don't know me, I'm Cam Underwood, State of the U. My ats are Underwood Sports on Twitter and at the State of the U for the website. Website is stateoftheu.com. And I'm going to get out of here. So Florida State guys, enjoy. Mark, I will see you later. Thanks for letting me crash for a little bit. See you guys.
Thanks, Cam. See you,
Appreciate you, Cam.
See you.
All right. There it is. Big game, James Coleman, everyone. Down on the banner, down below, 2002 to 2005.
That's a big win in the rivalry, man.
Man, that
was a big one.
I hate it for us. I hate it because now you have to hear, well, not Cam. Actually, even Cam's energy, even going into last week's game, was different than Cam. But like, he's done a really what Mario's done is a really good job of building the program in his shape. He's used they got the trenches through recruiting, and they built up stuff through recruiting. And it's the hardest problem to solve is the quarterback position. But what he's showing is if we can find the right guy in the portal, and we can find the right quarterback to be able to move this team forward, they're going to be fine. So. Unfortunately, all of their tests came in the first part of the season. I don't know, but like I said, I don't think Carson's trying to fight for anything as much as Cam was trying to fight to prove something. Cam Ward last year. So that makes me a little bit more afraid because they're not gonna take the risk to help a team come back, which is again, that's good on them.
Well, I don't mean to take away from their quarterback decision over the last 2 seasons, but any knucklehead in the world could have looked at Miami's quarterback room and thought, okay, we need to go get a quarterback. Mm-hmm. Cam Ward's the best one on the market. Oh, yeah, Carson Beck may not quite be at that level, but he's the best guy in the market in 2025. Mm-hmm. So
I'll give them a little bit of credit because it wasn't that simple with Cam Ward. They took a pretty big risk because, like, he was with some guys, to the NFL, and pretty much everybody else was gone. Like, if they would have missed on Cam Ward, they'd have been in a bind. So shout outs to them for getting him. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not like they went and got, a Jared Verse from Albany, and all of a sudden he was the best D in the country. You got the quarterback that's done all kind of crazy things at Georgia. And to their credit, they put Cam in a good offense for him, and they've got Carson Beck in a great offense for him that works better for the defense. And the defense is better. So there you are.
Mark, can I address some things? Not nothing to do with Miami, but more to do with Florida State fans.
Of course.
So we've talked about this. And again, Mark, correct me if I'm saying anything incorrect as to what I've said about this season. There are 4 teams that before we started doing this show before this season, that everybody would have looked at that schedule and said, they have more talent than us. Alabama, Clemson, Florida State, and Florida. The calculation that I made this year was that Florida State will go 8-4. And regardless of what happens in the Bama game, you'll know what Florida State team you have after Virginia. They couldn't take care of business against Virginia. Probably should have won that game, but when you go back and you look at it, there are You can't spot a team 14 points and on the road and then expect to win. And that's what Florida State did. First 2 drives, they had turnovers. You cannot spot a team that is better than you from a talent perspective. You cannot give them 3 turnovers. And what I'll say is it's kind of similar to what we had with the Jags here a couple weeks ago. We had 3 turnovers against the San Francisco 49ers. But the game was similarly scored to what we have right now. I think the Jags only won by 5 points, though. The 3 turnover game is a 28-3 game or a 35 or a 40-something point blowout. And I don't want the moral victory stuff. I hate those things. A loss is a loss. But what I would never do is try to go outside of this. For me, being logical, Florida State is still on track to what I believe that they were. I think they were a Gator Bowl team to start the season, and I think they'll be a Gator Bowl team to end the season. You'd only be distraught if you actually fooled yourself to think that Florida State, after going 2-10, was going to be a college football playoff team. To see a team be good after going, I believe Miami went 10-3 last year, if I'm correct. It's not like we haven't seen this before. We literally lived the team going 5-7, 10-3, 13-1. It's not going to be a thing where you flip it. The most you can flip it is going from 2-10 to potentially 10-2. I don't think we'll do that. I think we'll go 9-3 regular season. I think there's another loss that's going to be in there somewhere. But like, to see some of the bitching and moaning, I get crying, not being upset about losing. I never want to lose to Miami. I never want to lose any game. But when I step back and I actually get the emotion out of it and I look at where we're at, all right, well, I kind of already said that. So I kind of like, how can I get overly mad when I felt we were going to be in this position anyway?
Yep.
So I can get mad at the coaching decisions, and there are plenty of those. And I talked about it on my show. And again, I have the play-by-play from ESPN pulled up. This was a 14-3 game going into the half. Miami scored on the first drive coming in. And then Florida State turned it over. But it was to say that the game was not out of hand. I've lived long enough to see things like the choke at Doak, where Florida had us dead to rights, and we scored, I believe 31 in the quarter. We've seen other teams do this. So it's not like, let's talk about the things before we get into Pitt. The 4th and 8. So actually, I'll be honest. The coaching was reminiscent to what I see the fan base be. So you can't get mad at Mike when we're like that. Mike lived and died with the emotions of the game, because there is no reason when the game is 7-3 and they have not shown you that they can drive all the way down the field yet, that you don't play field position and pin them deep. You did not need to go for it on 4th and to burn a timeout and then call that is just not great situational awareness as a coach. Now, the play was there to work, but every offensive play is designed to score points. Every defensive play is designed to stop the offense from scoring points. But you have to understand that at that moment, pin them and allow them to do that. But then it gets compounded because a player, if he just takes the sack, it's not as bad. If he throws an incompletion, it's not as bad. If he throws the interception and somebody actually attempts to tackle him where he got it at, it's actually just like a punt. The problem is they got it and then they returned it onto the other side of the 50, setting themselves up for a big play with the flea flicker. But even then, that was the last point. That was points scored early in the second quarter, and then nothing happened. So, like, you made mistakes. You dug yourself in a hole. You spotted a really good team 14 points. And you cannot spot a good team 14 points and then expect the outcome to be different. That's just talking ball. Like, in Miami took full advantage of those things. But, like, if we're really just talking ball, that's what happened. And that's where the game kind of went away from you.
So the first part of that, and then I'll let George speak because we want to hear more from George than from me. But what I'm hearing out of you, James, at the beginning of that is there's a difference between standards and expectations.
Mm-hmm.
The standards at Florida State are competing for championships, both in the ACC and national championships. That is the standard that Bobby Bowden established in the late 70s, and it hasn't changed since. Now, we've seen fluctuations and in the program in regards to it being one of the best in the nation versus it having some dry spells under a number of coaches. So, yes, like you, I picked Florida State to go 8-4 this year. So what I've seen is not any kind of great surprise. Now, would I have picked and did a loss against Alabama and a win against Virginia? Absolutely. So I would have traded those two games like most people, but I had Florida State still sitting at the same record at this point in the season, and their level of play overall is generally what I had expected. I think this is one of the 15 to 20 best teams in the country.
I think that's very generous. Like, but you know, I'm not, and I
Slightly.
again, but it's just there's no argument with it. It's just, and I really believe this year is crazy. We saw Penn State get mollywopped by UCLA. Yeah. Now, I would have been livid if that. Now you talk about scoring points and like knowing the game was over is what Penn State did, and they scored. But like, I would have never thought that would happen. I would have never thought a lot of things have happened. I believe that this is just going to be one of those weird years in college football. And, well, we shall see. But the biggest thing is you got to clean up mistakes. You cannot turn over the ball as much as they've turned it over and still expect to win ball games.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head about Virginia. You know, before the season when we talked about it, you know, now that it happened, like, if you switched it around, if you beat Virginia and you lost to Miami, like the reaction from people by losing to what we all agree, or at least me, Cam, and James, we've kind of confirmed it, the best team in the country. It shouldn't be doom and gloom, fire everybody, but you're coming off 2-10, and just everybody jumps on the same thing. All those motors get fired up. People talking about coaching changes and things, but yeah, I think the team's better. Being honest, I think they're like a considerable bit better than I thought they were going to be. There's some teams out there that are worse and a little bit better, but I think what you got with your quarterback and how well your defense and offensive line is playing, yeah, I think we're better than I thought. I didn't think we were going to beat Bama just looking at it, but yeah, you got to win against Pitt, which we're about to get into, because if you extend that losing in the ACC streak, Virginia, okay, now you lost to Miami. I think Mike's like 7-18 coming off a loss. You know, you extend that streak, all of a sudden, the rest of the shows this year, we're talking coaching changes and things of that nature. So I hope for, you know, Mike's sake and for all of our sakes that he can win these gimmies, and, you know, probably drop one whether Clemson gets their crap together or Florida has a hot game with their quarterback. You're going to lose probably one of those. Just beat Pitt. Let's beat Stanford. Let's get some of these wins that we predicted for that 7-8 wins. I think I just said, I think Vegas has got it. And I said 7.5. I'm not even sure which way, but I think pretty much everybody with sense was 7-8 wins, 9, if everything goes your way going into the year. And it's funny how you get there all of a sudden and you're in the middle of it and, you know, everybody's going nuts. So we'll see.
Like this.
I'll be with them if we lose to Pitt.
Hey, James, before we move on to Pitt, let me just take care of some business here. So number one would be, we have almost 700 people here watching. Now, that's because it's been shared all over Twitter and so forth and so on by these gentlemen. Cam has some impact there and so forth. But there's like 25 people watching on YouTube. So I'm going to be shutting this thing down on Twitter. So our our approach each week is to get this thing revved up on Facebook and Twitter, in addition to what we do here on YouTube. But you can join the chat here on YouTube. We would love for you to join us on YouTube. So we're going to shut down Twitter here in just a second. So join us on YouTube. It's easy to find Voice of College Football or Mark Rogers TV, Florida State, FSU. Type any of those things in and you can find it easily. I'll actually put the channel URL in the chat and you'll be able to see it on Twitter. So let's clean that up. And as we take off on the Pitt game, I'm going to visually display our Voice of College Football merch, Florida State merch. So give it a go. We took great pains to make this quality merch. The pricing is a good price. Believe me, it is quality merch. We've gotten feedback. We've sold about 40, 50 items over the course of the entire network. People have had great feedback. So while we talk Pitt, who's coming off a 48-7 decision over BC, and I believe they had to play their backup quarterback in that game. I don't know if Eli Holstein, the Alabama transfer, who's been their starting quarterback for a year and a half, got hurt in that game. He only threw a handful of passes, and then the backup came in and carved up BC. I saw Pitt play Louisville. I saw most of that game. They were up 10 points in the fourth quarter. Louisville came back with 17 to win the game by a touchdown. That's all I've seen of Pitt football this year, but it's a pretty typical Pitt football team. You talk about Florida State being like a fringe top 20, 25 team in the country. Pitt's like what they usually are. They're like the 40th best team in the country. They're going to go 7-5 probably. That's who they are.
They got a good offensive coordinator that I know very well. Unfortunately, another guy I know well that I've coached before, and Cade Bell. A lot of Florida State fans and Florida fans would know who his dad is. His dad was Kerwin Bell, former Florida Gator quarterback. He coached at Jacksonville University. Cade played quarterback at Fleming Island, and then left to go with his dad when he went to Western Carolina, and he's building up the coaching ranks. So they're going to go out there. They're going to try to attack Florida State. A little bit different. Their front, they have a good offensive line and defensive line. Their front seven is one of the better ones in college football. Not as good as Miami, though. Like, I don't think we'll face another front seven like that. It's obviously Clemson. But Mike and those guys have to go in and stabilize the culture in the locker room. You don't want to let one loss become two, and you don't want to let two losses become three. You have to state where we're at, what we're trying to build. And I think Mark, you actually took my saying. The standard is the standard. It doesn't go anywhere. But what happens is you have to shift your expectations in adjustment to getting you back to the standard. You don't just wake up one day and then you become a national champ. Like, it doesn't work like that. So but I do believe that they're going to do that. They're doing very well. And I think this game will be the one that they need to jumpstart. But like George said, if they don't, and you go 0-3 in ACC play, Mike will deserve a lot of the stuff that the vitriol in which he'll be getting. But he's a tough guy. Mike has never been a punk. Mike is a guy who understands what the job he took, and it's a pressure cooker.
Yeah, man. There's no doubt. I mean, to Mark's point about the quarterback, they found their starter in Matt Heinschel. Like you said, 323 yards, 4 touchdowns. The scary part is they had 12 guys get a reception, and it's not like 1-1-1. You've got like 8 guys with 2 receptions, another 4 or 5 with 3 receptions. But the main guys, Johnson, number 2, he had 9 receptions, 115 yards, 12.8 average. I think we'll definitely see the Heinschel kid, whether Holstein's injured or hurt or anything else. Their defense, to James's point, pretty good front seven. Like, I think they're giving up 1.8 yards per carry against the run, kind of similar to us. They're loading up against the run and taking their chances in the pass game. Lost 2 heartbreakers to ACC foes, unranked ACC foes, but hey, Louisville or whoever else, could be there. Virginia, I'm not. It's kind of scary. We'll see what happens. You got a kid you don't have a ton of film on, but he's got to win this one. You got to. It's Pitt. Deuce Spann catching balls for this new quarterback over there. Wow. I mean, if Deuce Spann catches some kind of game-winning touchdown, not to put bad juju on the team or something, But yeah, there's going to be the timeline will go nuts if that happens.
Well.
So we've got Florida State as a 10.5-point favorite. The over-under is 57.5. So Vegas is saying what, like 35, 25, 30, 34, 24, something in that range, 34, 23. There you go.
Yeah, not a lot of sacks in that front seven, but 1.9 yards per rush is a pretty crazy stat. They don't allow a ton of yards, a ton of points, really anything. They're really good in those statistics, but their third down, fourth down, red zone percentages are dreadful. So I don't know if there just hadn't been a ton of possessions in those games, or they're bad in situational football. I haven't seen a ton of it, but kind of the opposite of what we saw from Miami's defense. It'd be nice if we could capitalize in some of those moments when we do get in the red zone. Not spot another team 14 points 3 weeks in a row.
So in addition to Florida State losing this game, a rivalry game, so they lose a rivalry game on the same weekend that they lose the game that, unless all hell breaks loose, knocked them out at the ACC championship game. So are Florida State fans also throwing that on the fire as well? Like, we thought we had possibly a team that could play in Charlotte after we beat Bama, and here we are only 3 or 4 weeks later, and that's pretty much crushed with all those undefeated teams at the top of the ACC.
Yeah, I have if they thought we were, again, I made that mistake last year, and then because I don't think anybody thought DJU was going to be as bad as he was. Like, that was tough to be that bad. But when you looked at it again, I didn't think, and just like I didn't think Clemson would be as bad as Clemson is right now. But when I look at the Clemson team, when I looked at Miami, SMU returned their quarterback and a lot of firepower. Georgia Tech returned a lot of guys that are coming off of a season that kind of changed them. That would just be extreme homerism to believe that Florida State would be going to the conference championship game. Now, what's crazy in all of this is that, and I know this isn't going to happen, you run the table, who cares if you go to the conference championship game? You know what's going to happen? A 10-2 Florida State team gets one of the at-large bids to the college football playoff.
True.
And because for nothing else, people are going to watch. It's going to be a highly watched game, whether they travel or whether they host. So
and this year, I mean, there's so many teams that have already got a loss or two that were penciled in at the beginning.
There's going to be more. It's going to be chaos. And I guess, Mark, covering the NFL has made me different than everybody else. The goal in the NFL isn't necessarily to win your division. It's to get to the playoffs so that you can win the Super Bowl. The only way you can win the Super Bowl is to get to the playoffs. And it becomes a lot more like golf. You can't just you might be able to drive it off the tee very, very far, but the people who got good iron game and your short game and you just keep the ball in play, you're going to win more often than not, or you're going to score really, really high. So Florida State still has the end goals on the table.
09 Saints. Win, is that what we doing, James? We're doing 09 Saints. I'll take it.
09 Saints.
They're going to be extending Mike if that happens.
The Giants. It's a lot of teams that just got there, but the real thing is this. Tony White is still trying to get his stuff in.
The Seahawks.
Gus Malzahn is still trying to get his stuff in. And again, I thought before, I hope to be wrong. We're a Gator Bowl team. We are not a even if we get to the playoffs, even if you look around and win the first round, this is not a national championship caliber team. And that is the truth. And there is nothing wrong with accepting that truth for right now until they prove you wrong.
If I may take the conversation away from Florida State for like 30 seconds, just to make this point that James is already making. James, I could have used you to officiate. I don't know how many phone calls, how many arguments that I had with fans this offseason when I said I am not telling you how to feel. I'm not telling you how much weight emotionally to put into games. That's not what I'm telling. I have no right to do that. You can make whatever game you want to be as important as you want it to be. But Ohio State and Michigan, among other games, but that game is not as important logistically. In the real world, it is not as important as it used to be. And then what happened? Ohio State went out and won a national championship after they lost to Michigan. It is the NFL.
Now, can I bring something up? And I know that I don't think this will happen. But speaking of that example you just used of last year's national champion, right? Ohio State played Oregon, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And they lost. If I remember correctly.
Yes. In the regular season. Yeah.
Then they played again in the playoff. And was the game close? Or was it very, very decisive victory for Ohio State?
34-0 before halftime. So no, it was not close.
The beautiful thing about college football is no two games are the same. And you play the game on your schedule and you keep playing and you never know what's going to happen. We had a 2-loss national champion with the best player in college football being a freshman. And even he didn't have consistent 100-yard games. Hell, he was shut out against one team, the team before. You got to play. You got to play. You got to play the season out. I've seen crazier stuff happen. Florida State dropped their first 2 games, I believe, in 1989 before Bobby Bowden even won a national championship. One of those being a 30-0 loss to the University of Miami. I can only imagine what would happen if they get. I'm not gonna. Does anybody want to say Bobby's not the GOAT now? Not one of the best coaches? Bobby took it on the chin a lot, man. And again, this is no defense of Mike. Mike has there's a lot of things I'm critical on from his play calling, from all this other stuff. But like, man, college football is changed. And I think it's changed for the better. Because when you lost one game, a lot of times people felt they were out of it, but you're not now. So you got to focus on Pitt. And Pitt always plays tough. They're always a good bunch. But also, this is also why I don't talk bad about people, because now Tony White went from saving us from Fuller to people looking like Adam Fuller, like Adam Fuller might have known something a little bit. Adam Fuller coaches, and this is not saying Tony White's not good. Adam Fuller coaches the defense that game. Florida State knows how to shut down 10 because they're going to play man coverage on Malachi and not zone and allow him to run over routes to beat you. But that's the topic for another day.
All right. Final comments on Pitt, and we'll head on out. So, George, anything else on this Pitt game?
Yeah, I won't pick us to cover, but they better win it. Because I really don't want to do the rest of the year talking about coaching candidates and boosters getting riled up on the internet. So that's it, man. You got a quarterback, not much film, one really nice receiver, and pass defense better be ready, because that's what they're going to want to do. And hopefully Tommy can bounce back. He looked rattled against Miami, maybe the best team in the country. Didn't have the best game against Virginia. This is a big one to get it rolling. It go one of two ways. We can be thinking about maybes and what ifs to go into 10-2 and back into the playoffs, or it could be a long slog there for FSU media the rest of the way.
Gotta win. I don't want to see all the crying, and you're not going to see a bad performance out of me again. I don't want to hear all that. Just win games.
Man, you bounced back and had a tough practice today. I wish I could never hear that again in the world. If I was a coach, I'd be against all these press availabilities after the practices. But for Mike Norvell, especially after the past couple of years, it's tough to watch those anymore.
We are combining two of your favorite brands here. We got the Voice of College Football, and we got FSU. We've got tees and polos. We got jackets. We've got a number of hats. We've got koozies, tumblers, mugs. And so check it out. I've left the link there in the chat, but it's basically vocfb.com. And then you just go to shop You pick out your team, and we got Florida State merchandise right there for you. George, what's going on at the Renegade Report?
Staying busy, man. We got the Renegade Roast every week, Mondays, 8:15 Eastern. They actually did one yesterday due to scheduling conflicts, so go check that out. They get into, obviously, the Miami-Florida State game. Tiny Hat eats a little crow. Got into some other situations we mentioned. James Franklin, Texas, even got into a little bit about a former Jets quarterback and his off-the-field stuff that happened. So if you want to have a good time and some adult humor, go check that out. And we also do the show on Fridays at 7 Eastern. Right there at the Renegade Report on YouTube. And there you see my Twitter handle, at Renegade Report 1. Go follow me there. We stream our stuff to Twitter. But like Mark said, you got to take it away from them. I may disable the Twitter streams for a little bit. People get lazy and want to just stay on Twitter. We need you guys on YouTube. And those of you are that in the chat, we appreciate you. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe. And Florida State's at home. Y'all get out there if you can and support.
James, what's going on with you this week?
None, just Mandarin University. We will have a stream this week. We'll be playing Fletcher homecoming. A lot of Division I talent. Fletcher has, I believe, 2 D1 wide receivers and a D1 DB. Going against Bryson Wright. And that game will be streamed 6:30 p.m. on DIN Media Group. If you want to watch some good high school football with some of the best players in the nation, will be on that. We gave away a pair of Pitt tickets. I probably will be doing that again. We have plenty of stuff. If you go to at Big Game James _36, I have we'll be giving away I think I'm gonna give away 2 more pairs of tickets to random people. If they just kind of comment on there, there's no, regardless of what the situation is, Doak is an electric place, and it's something to do on a Saturday. Keep kids out of trouble. I want to be able to help people by doing that, by donating tickets. And if you have tickets for games that you're not going to go to, we do give those away to kids who are deserving. But just go to DIN Media Group. We're, I think, like 220 away from 7,000. Once we get to 7,000 subs, we'll give away $500 to the lucky listener of Big Games BS, as well as $200 to a person who's a member of the channel. So that's what we got going.
We'll be back to wrap up the Pitt game and move on to Stanford for Florida State football talk right here at the Voice of College Football with James and George, probably Tuesday or Wednesday. So subscribe, as George let you know. Hit the bell for the notifications to know when we go live, and we will see you back here next week.